the Jacksonville Jaguars, much like the other three rivals they had a very disappointing and letdown of a season. Going into this past offseason, they were the number one pick in the draft. They drafted Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who was kind of touted as this generational type talent, kind of like John Elway, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, just one of those massive potential quarterbacks that everybody goes, that guy is going to be a star, guarantee, book it, it's done. They brought on Urban Meyer as their head coach, a former college coach at Ohio State. He coached Florida as well. And, I mean, Urban Meyer was one of maybe the 5 best coaches in college football history, definitely in the top 10. So there was a lot of hope, I think, in the building going into this past year, and it just floundered. Just an awful, awful letdown of a season, courtesy of Urban Meyer. I mean, it seems like there was a period of time, every day there was a new story coming out about some crazy stuff Urban Meyer did in the locker room, kicking his kickers, bringing on Tim Tebow as a 4th-string tight end to try because, hey, they're buddies, staying overnight after they had a game in Ohio and, you know, wanting to stay by and not ride home with the team. And I'm going to go see some friends and hang out with some people, which I kind of, like, I don't have a total issue with. But, you know, when you're the head coach of an organization, you got to understand this is business. You can't be like, oh, you know, I want, like, if you were to visit Vegas to play the Raiders or something and your coach was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to stay behind and gamble a little bit in the casinos. I mean, you know, I know it's not quite the same, but it's not so different that it's not still really weird. And then, of course, he had a video that came out where he was touching up on a woman in a bar, and it just a whole mess. Just an awful sequence of a season. Trevor Lawrence was disappointing, though I think a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that this is easily one of the 3 worst rosters in the league. And, you know, again, you have a head coach who's just a crazy person. Like, you're dealing with a lot of other stuff just in your day-to-day work life. And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you got to go perform every Sunday and play football. So I don't know how much you can blame him. That said, he's going into his 2nd year. He's got a new head coach, Doug Peterson, who was the former Philadelphia Eagles head coach, and Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. And he was also he's been an offensive coordinator. He comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree. Andy Reid's coaching tree is fire, let me tell you what. He also previously has played quarterback in the NFL. So you got to feel like you got to feel like if there is somebody who's going to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence, it is a Super Bowl winning offensive head coach who has played the position he has. And I loved it. It's my favorite hire of the offseason. It was just great. Like, it felt like Jacksonville understood the assignment and they knew what they needed to do. And props to them for following through on that. But as I said, this is a very depleted roster. There's no big free agencies walking out of the door, but that's mostly because they don't really have any big name players outside of Trevor Lawrence. Outside of Trevor Lawrence, you maybe have Shaquille Griffin at corner. Josh Allen at defensive end is obviously pretty good. Marvin Jones at receiver isn't bad. They should be getting running back Travis Etienne back. He was a running back that was drafted. The Jaguars had 2 picks in the first round last year, so they used the first one on Trevor Lawrence. The second one, they got Travis Etienne. And he got hurt. I can't remember exactly what injury he had, but he got hurt before the season even started. And James Robinson, who kind of came onto the scene back in the 2019 season, was really good. Or it was the 2020 season, I'm sorry. He came on the scene in the 2020 season, was pretty good. He ended up being that guy again. And just another Urban Meyer story. He fumbled, I think, in a game, and he got benched. And I just remember there was a story about Trevor Lawrence sitting there on the sidelines going, hey, we kind of need him if we're going to be successful on offense. Can we please get him back in the game? And Urban Meyer, oh, okay, sure, fine. So it's just a bunch of nonsense. They have a lot of work to do. They have a high first-round pick. I believe they have the number 1 overall pick again. I can't remember the last time a team has had the number 1 overall pick in back-to-back years. I guess it was Cleveland in 2017 and 2018. So you get an idea of where this kind of team is. But hey, again, Trevor Lawrence, they've got to feel like they have their guy there, so they're going to be able to go out. They have a lot of salary cap. From where I understand, they have almost $60 million. Again, that number might have changed, but that's second in the league to only the Dolphins. They have 11 total picks, only 1 first-rounder, though. So, you know, you already have your quarterback taken care of. That's more than a lot of teams in the NFL can say. you have an opportunity to go out and really invest in the infrastructure around him and build up that team and bring in some guys, sign some big name free agents here and there, build up that offensive line. Your running back room is taken care of. And, I think this is a team that if they go out and get another receiver or two, they build up that offensive line, they get a defensive player or two on the other side of the ball. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but this is easily a team I think that could find themselves, competitive, much more competitive than they were, especially. And, we saw Joe Burrow. He was playing for the 1-15 Bengals, won a couple games before he got hurt. And we saw what having that caliber of a quarterback can do to your team to help elevate it. I talked about it a little bit with the Jets. If Zach Wilson takes that next step, a lot of those blemishes on that team, they kind of get a little coated over. You don't see them as much. And so, if Trevor Lawrence comes out and has that big next step like everybody thinks he probably will, the Jaguars, they could find themselves in the playoffs. They could be one of those surprise teams that everybody looks up and goes, oh, wow, Jacksonville's got a winning record right now. Like, this is crazy. So, on paper, I think they should feel at least like they can be competitive. I would still lean toward them having a losing record. But, hey, quarterback takes the next step. We'll see what happens. So, not going to be eyeing the Super Bowl, I think, by any means. But this is a team, this division, as I've talked about, is a little weak. The Texans don't know where they're at all. The Colts, they're looking for a quarterback. And the Titans, the Titans are a good team. Like, you have to give them their flowers. But, Jacksonville's got to feel like, I think, in my opinion, they have to feel like they can have a competitive roster. They have the money to do it. They have the head coach that's done it. They have the quarterback. Like, they've got the two most important positions on their team correct, and they've got resources to go fill the gaps on the rest of their team. He's also got a running game, as I've already said. So I think, Jacksonville was the worst team in the league this past year, but of all the bad teams in the league, I think Jacksonville by far has the most hope.